Good morning, everybody. I want to make a video today. I'm going to be in Genesis 42, 7 and 8, and then I'm going to skip over to Genesis 45 and read a verse or two. This is in the King James Version of the Bible, and it says, "And Joseph saw his brethren, and they knew him, but made himself strange unto them, and spake roughly unto them. And he said unto them, Whence come you? And they cried, From the land of Canaan. And Joseph knew his brethren, but they knew not him." You know the story. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible where uh, they had Joseph had the dream. His daddy had made him the coat of many colors, and he uh, he had dreams, and his brothers got jealous of him, and they threw him in the pit. He didn't accidentally fall in there; they threw him in there, and they had the upper hand. But now he's second in charge over uh, the land, and they've come to him wanting to get some. There's a famine in the land. They need things now. They need him. And then Genesis 45, 1 through 4 says, "And then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians in the house of Pharaoh heard. And Joseph said to his brethren, I am Joseph, doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his presence. And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near unto me, I pray. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold in Egypt. You know, I imagine they were scared to death that somebody that's the last thing you want is somebody that you mistreated to have the upper hand like that. So the moral is just don't mistreat anybody. Uh, Joseph had the baton, and there's a baton to be passed down to every family, every church. It began with Abraham, and Abraham passed it to Isaac, and Isaac Jacob. And now Jacob has passed it down to Joseph. Uh, Everybody that's taken hold of the relay, the baton, has had troubles and struggles. If the runner in front of you fails in the time of transfer, it affects the next runner. So we need to uh, be careful to pass the baton on to the ones coming behind us. Every father that's listening is carrying a baton. As a minister, I want to tell you to watch how you run. You must stay close enough to your family that at the time of transfer, you won't drop the baton. Men have to learn to love their wives, and you must love your wife in a way that she knows that you love her, so she don't have to guess. And your children have to see you treat your wife with love and respect, because that's the way they're going to treat theirs. That's what they're going to be the way they think it's supposed to be. But don't just tell your spouse that you love them. Show it. And you have to teach your son not to intimidate women. Don't let them see that happening in your house. Don't model it in front of them. And you have to teach your daughter as a father what to look for in a man while she is still searching. Probably need to tell her that if she finds somebody she really likes and she don't think she can be subject to them, she needs to just keep on looking. I heard about a wife told her husband, said, you don't ever tell me that you love me. And he said, I do too. And she said, when? When's the last time you told me you loved me? He said, when we first got married, I told you I loved you. And if I change your mind, I'll let you know. Maybe some people have that kind of philosophy, but if you don't tell her your feelings, there may be somebody come along on the job or wherever that may do that for you. somebody might say something nice to her, and you hadn't said nothing nice in over a month. And at first, the spouse will probably brush it off, that good treatment, and maybe fight a good fight for a while. But if you don't step in, whether you're a man or a woman, and tell your spouse how you feel, they'll wear down after a while. I thought about the woman with the issue of blood. When you want something, you have to go after it. Um, and you just need to push through the crowd and say, excuse me. If somebody else don't want it, just say, excuse me, I got to get through, I want it. I thought about a fella I knew that had salvation. He worked at a place. There was a woman there, and her and her husband was having problems, and she wanted him to eat lunch with her. At first, he kind of pushed that off, I think, if I remember the story right. But after insisting, um, he finally gave in. And her theme was, I wish my husband understood me like you seem to understand. And it just overcome him. And he told somebody that he said, his brother-in-law said, I didn't mean to, said, you know how in every war there's a casualty. Said, I didn't mean to be a casualty, but he became one. Just be kind and sweet and good to the one you have. Jacob came down to the time to die, and he came down to the place of transfer. The greatest blessing you can find is when God promises you something, you don't have to wrestle with it like Jacob did. Jacob told the angel he wouldn't let him go till he blessed him, and he was already blessed. I want to read chapter 49 of 1 through 4 of Genesis, and this is where the transfer comes in. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, gather yourselves together that I may be with you, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, and the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel. It wasn't that a sad thing, and he couldn't bless any of them the way he wanted to until he got down to Joseph. And Joseph caught the baton, the relay. Joseph didn't complain. He never said one word that we can know of when he was put in a pit, or even when he was lied on by Miss Potiphar. I call them yo-yo Christians. They're up and down and down and up, and you don't know where they're going to be next, and I don't know how God could find them to use them. But we have people like that. You see them one time, and they're right on top. The next time you see them, they just, woe is me. Great men, they don't say much. They don't say anything or complain when they're hurt. I want to read the 27th chapter of Psalms. I'm going to read a pretty good bit of it. It says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my strength and my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes came upon to eat my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host shall encamp around against me, my heart shall not fear, though the war shall rise against me, in this will I be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me upon a rock. And now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I don't think I'll read the rest of it, but read on through the rest of the 27th Psalm. It's some good, encouraging reading. But, you know, uh, wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, upon the Lord. You know, can you believe that all that God had done for David, that he almost thought about fainting? God just puts the answer down inside of us, and we're looking all over around you and calling people with less wisdom than you for the answer. But you ought to know that God has put the answer down inside of you in seed form. You know, one thing that we should learn is that no matter how bad things get around you, God is faithful. But you have to learn how to be faithful in God. The Bible said in his presence is the fullness of joy. When God gets ready to bless you, you got to prepare a place for those blessings and for him to bless you. You have to prepare a place for God to fit in your life like the widow did the room. You might ask, why do I have to do that? Isaiah chapter 43 said, I'm getting ready to do a new thing. If God is getting ready to do a new thing in your life, you better prepare a place where God can have room to do that new thing in your life. You have to enlarge your room. If you've got a new baby coming and don't have anywhere for it to be when it got here, then you would have to build a room or enlarge it, a room. Know what God can do for you. I know what God can do for me. I'm not guessing about it. I know what he can do. Isaiah 52, God says, awake you. You got a wake-up call. You don't need a little bitty alarm clock, ting, 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 ting. You need one blaring right in your ear to wake you up. You know, I'd read the Bible, but, you know, it'd probably take me a year, and I'm in my 70s, so it'd probably take a year. I'd be I'm 72, be 72, so, well, how old are you going to be if you don't do it? You might as well do it. You're going to be the same age if you do or don't. You have to put on strength. Don't wait on somebody to make you happy. You should put on strength God has already given to you. Rise from the dust and sit down in heavenly places. Isaiah 54 said, loose yourself. Stop waiting on somebody else to do it for you. Isaiah 54:17, no weapon that's formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. You know, Joseph, Joseph told his brothers, I am your brother. And they didn't know him in the high position because last time they saw him, they was putting him in a pit. Joseph might have told him, the last time you saw me, I was crying and begging people to help as they came by. How you like me now? Well, just get used to it. And because, you know, after all, he didn't accidentally fall in the pit. They put him in there. You know, God knows how to change things when he gets to it. He caused them to have a beauty contest. He caused the old queen to be the king to step her down. They had a beauty contest, and there Esther was, put on the throne, and it was just in time to save her people. You know, she may have said, I'm the queen now, just get used to it. He caused a little maid to get kidnapped so she could testify to Naaman. You should tell your enemies, you haven't seen me like this before. I'm a new man, a new woman, but just get used to it. You've been used to seeing me down, but now just get used to seeing me blessed. Just get used to it. When Paul was laying his dead, he got up with great anointing and probably said, "Oh yeah, that's me. Just get used to it." When your season comes, can't nobody stop it. So they might as well just get used to it. You know, sometimes it's not your season. I remember Brother Hubert Sampson told me a story. He said it's like a little child, a young boy wanting to drive, and he asked his dad, "Can I drive the car?" "No. You can move it. You can start it." Then he comes back and keeps asking the dad, "Can he drive?" And finally he says, "No, you can move it around in the driveway." "Can I drive it, Dad?" "No, you can just start it and move it around in the driveway." And he finally one day he comes and he says, "Here's the keys." And that's the way the Lord does. That's the way He did me. Let you do a little thing, let you do a few little things, but don't give you the keys. And then finally one day when He sees it, He can trust you. He said, "Here's the keys." So when your season comes, you're not going to be able to hold it all. This is your season, and just tell your enemies to get used to it. Joseph must have said, "When I was in the pit, you laughed at me. You made fun. But now I'm the second man in all of Egypt. Get used to it." So I hope this made sense to you today. I hope it's helped you. Uh, may God bless you until we see each other again.